So one tip we've learned building Braden's match set of arrows is that it does matter, at least on the Victory VAP 800 that we shoot, VAP Junior 800 that we shoot, it does matter. Notice that anywhere we bring an arrow to get cut, naturally, as most people do, is they just take the nock in, set it in there, measure what they need, and they'll chop it off the front. So after building this spine tester and starting to match grade his arrows, one thing I noticed is that there is a difference if you're trying to spine match your arrows as tight as possible for paper rounds. It does matter, at least on these arrows, where you cut it. So one thing is, I don't have a official spine tester here. I've got the poor man version, so when I do hang the weight and pull the weight up, I do it multiple times until I get a repeatable reading on the indicator. That allows the arrow to settle out on the hooks. But this is a video most of you were asking for. But for instance, if you notice, in this case, the hooks are set to the length of Braden's arrows where we'll have to cut them at. So there's always going to be excess. That'll be basically what's cut off the arrow. So if you notice here, we're going to look at, we're going to test first how majority of the bow shops would cut it for you. I'm going to put the nock in here, and the front of the arrow is going to get cut off. So let's go ahead. We're zeroed out with the weight hanging. Do a couple pulls to get a repeatable reading. Let everything settle in. It looks like our reading is repeating at about, which I apologize, a little hard to do holding the phone, so I'm a little rough with the weight here. Let me try to not look at the phone. Alright, so 72 to 73 is the most repeatable. So we're going to go rotate the shaft. Go ahead and zero the indicator. We get a couple test sets. Zero, 75. So this one's repeating right about 74. We're going to rotate the shaft again. 0. Four. Rotate the shaft, 0. When these things are spine tested under official spine tester and following all regulations, they're tested in the middle, right, of the 28-inch span. Well, the 28-inch span middle point is not the middle of an arrow once you cut it. Right, so that spine isn't true anymore for the length of your arrow, and that's why we check this. Okay, so this one's pretty consistent on this side of the shaft. Go ahead and put the phone down so we can turn the arrow around. Alright, if you notice, we swapped nock sides. Alright, So we're going to measure it here to where this knock end would be your excess cutoff. Now, on the last two arrows I did, it was actually the knock end that was about 5 thousandths more consistent than the front end. So far, this one surprised me that the knock end was pretty consistent. But on the other ones, the knock end would get 75 on two sides and get 80 on two sides. But I have noticed that the knock end seems to be a weaker spine than the front end. And if you notice on this one, it's doing the same so far. This one here is sitting right at the 70 mark. So I'm going to rotate the shaft, 0, you see. So the last position I was in, we were bouncing right at 70, 72. I rotated it, and now we're sitting right around the 80 mark. See that? Which is totally opposite from the last two arrows. So I'm almost wondering if these stickers get placed on here and they're not actually placed on, you know, at the factory in any specific direction. Because this arrow is acting totally opposite of these two arrows. So if we were to build this match set and bring it somewhere and they just cut the front end off all three of these arrows and we were doing 3 arrow shot paper rounds like we are right now, I'd have these two arrows with a 75 thousandths lift, and this one would be at an 80, strictly because the knock and the sticker was on this end when it shipped. But just to see, let's see if I can roll it back to where it was, see if we can get back to that 70 again. And you see this one here is sitting right around that 71, 72 mark, but watch, I'm going to roll it back this way. See if we get closer to 80 again. 0. See, we're going above 75. I probably rolled it too much, and it's not in the exact same spot. I didn't mark these, I just did it for quick reference. There you go, we're back in that spot again. So if you notice here, every time we check, we're basically 75 or greater. So just rotating this much, not even 180, you get a 4 thousandths inconsistency in the spine on this side of the arrow. See, I rolled it a good bit and we're at 78. Settle in 0. There we go. See? We're getting 76 to 78 in this position. Whenever on the other side of the arrow, we were getting a lot less. When we measured this side of the arrow, it was always right at the 70 thousandths mark, 70 to 73, right? So again, you can't follow the knock and the sticker that they put on and just cut off the front of the arrow if you're trying to build a match grade set, because evidently these knocks and stickers on these two arrows here are backwards from this arrow, because the front of these two arrows have the exact same spine with the same consistency as the back side of this arrow. So that's the first thing we check before we even start building his match grade set. And we wore out 3 arrows last week. They're no longer consistent through paper or anything, and the spine is all over the place. There's no consistency. I have a new set of Elite VAP 800s coming in, but they won't be in yet, so I'm just building them 3 today for this week's shooting till I get his new Elite set come in. Hope this helps.